Hi everyone, I'm John from Sophos and welcome to the latest in our Sync with Sophos series of technical updates. So welcome to the June edition. Wonderful, right, let's get ourselves underway with some product updates first of all, and we'll begin with an announcement that you may have seen if you joined our recent partner conference or our customer launch. And if you missed out on either of those two events, then those recordings are still available for you to download and watch, and I highly recommend you do that. But one of the highlights was the announcement of our adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem, or ACE as we like to call it. ACE is basically taking all of the wonderful threat intelligence that we gather from both our labs infrastructure and what our machine learning engine has found out, in conjunction with all the wonderful information that we glean from running a security operations center. And the idea of gathering all that intelligence is to deposit it into a data lake that all of our products can both feed into and draw out of. So that would include both our endpoint and server technologies, and also things like our email, our firewall, our wireless access points, our range of hardware, like the APs, like the firewalls, and soon our switching lineup as well. And it's information that we can feed into our services teams as well, with the ethos of still having Sophos Central as a single place to manage all of your security estate, and also the same place to go and fetch all of your reporting information and data, and really joining up all of that information and data to make it much more accessible and to ease the management burden by unifying policies wherever possible. And what we're also talking about doing, if you turn your attention to the left-hand side, is to incorporate some APIs so that we can potentially pull information in from other threat analyst sources, for example, and we can integrate more closely with some third-party tools that you might be using as a service provider, in particular, maybe things like PSA and RMM tools, and also potentially for the first time actually incorporating connectivity into other security products as well. So obviously, any API integration relies on the other vendor at the other end having similar connectors and capabilities and being willing to do that. But we are potentially opening up this idea of the adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem to other vendors as well. And this is all very exciting because it really takes the message of synchronized security and really bolsters that so that it covers all of our portfolio and delivers a much more enhanced return on investment when it comes to customer security spend. In terms of APIs, these are some of the integrations that we have already available and supported. Of course, if you're handy and can write code, then you could use our APIs in lots of other clever ways as well. But these are the out-of-box integrations that we have currently. And of course, this will only increase over time. So obviously, we're very excited to have some of these integrations, and hopefully that will make your lives an awful lot easier. Okay, so another announcement that I wanted to make you aware of, which happened just after the partner conference, was the announcement of EDR version 4 and our XDR products as well. So let's have a look at these things first of all, and let's look at them in the context of what the industry analysts are saying. So essentially, XDR really is all about having an improvement to Security Operations Center, enhancing their ability to detect and also making them more productive overall by incorporating telemetry from multiple different sources. So what is the difference between EDR and XDR, you might be wondering? Well, this slide probably says it better than most. What this is doing is showing us the difference in terms of the cross-product data collation and the cross-product querying capabilities, which you only get with XDR. The other subtle change as well is you'll notice the data retention period in our data lake is 30 days for XDR, as opposed to just 7 days with EDR. So that helps us to look for more historic threats that may be slow burners that may have been kicking around in a customer's network for a while. It allows us to go and look for those things historically. That's another way of looking at it, a bit more of a marketing slide. This one, what this is doing is really distilling the fact down that if you want to get telemetry from just your endpoint and your server, then you need EDR. And if you want telemetry from the rest of your Sophos estate, that's where XDR comes into play. So pulling telemetry currently off our network appliances and our email solution, but then soon to add integrations to our public cloud and our mobile management platforms as well. So as you might expect with a new product launch, then there are some training materials already available. So I would encourage you naturally to go and find out more information about those training materials and to get yourself up to speed. I'm particularly going to call out EDR and XDR training 302, talking about query writing. So obviously there's lots of great tools and capabilities with the EDR and XDR platform, but you really need to be able to structure queries to be able to get the most out of those solutions. So what we're offering up here is a training course to help you write those queries and to get the most out of the tools. Of course, though, it's obviously worth calling out that EDR and XDR both are great solutions, but they are solutions that do require an element of time and input of technical skill in order to get the most out of those solutions. Otherwise, they become shelfware very, very quickly. And of course, it's always important to make sure that your customers do have the capabilities and the time to commit to an EDR or an XDR solution. And what we found when we spoke to 5,000 network admins is that a lot of them call out a lack of cybersecurity skills as being a major blocker to security. In fact, almost all of them are 80% there, and 27% said it was their biggest single challenge. So do bear in mind when you're talking to customers that EDR and XDR, great as it is, may not be the most appropriate solution to them. This is why we offer up our managed threat response service, which I'd hope by now the audience is all familiar with. So what I want to do here is, first of all, remind you of the differences between our MTR standard and advanced offering, but then also introduce to you a new service of managed threat detection. And this, for the first time, allows us to use our security operations center to deliver a managed service to customers who are currently consuming another vendor's endpoint protection suite. So what we're doing is adding an agent onto those devices so that we can pull out the telemetry, feed that into our SOC, and so that we can inform customers where we see potentially malicious activity or behavior. So just to be absolutely clear, this means that the current protection that are running stays in place, and it's not a protection solution as such, but what it is doing is adding in 24/7 monitoring and adversarial detections provided by our managed threat response service team. So great opportunity there to talk to customers who are currently wedded and attached to their endpoint protection solution and don't want to replace it, but are very interested in the concept of having a security operations center available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help them with their network security. So that really gives us an additional layer of offerings. So we've updated this slide that some of you may have seen before to incorporate the fact that we now offer that service as well. So essentially moving from protection through to human-led threat hunting. Customers can do it themselves via EDR and XDR, assuming they've got the time and the skills to do so. If they are instead quite happy to outsource that to our security operations center, but don't want to replace their endpoint protection, that's where MTD comes in. If they want a complete solution that includes both protection and that managed threat response service, that's MTR. And of course, we still offer post-breach intervention with our rapid response service as well. Okay, so moving away from our services offerings, let's talk a little bit about XGS. So hopefully all of you by now are familiar with our XGS product lineup. What I wanted to share with you is availability. So hopefully by the time you are watching this, all of our products in the XGS series will be available for you to purchase. And hopefully you're familiar already with the model lineup. Just to remind you, at the moment, there are no sizing resources available for the XGS series, but the rule of thumb is that size it for an XG device and then simply transition it across to the XGS products. Of course, the XGS devices are much more powerful, much more capable, but the performance benefits are somewhat circumstantial. So it's always best to match a like-for-like sizing with the XG, and obviously the customers will be delighted by the extra performance rather than disappointed if you've potentially underspecified a box. Naturally, if you've got any questions on that, then do speak to your account manager, reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to help you with the sizing process. And of course, I'll keep you up to date and make you aware as soon as those sizing resources become available. So having all those products available is great. It gives us a complete range of solutions for our firewall platform, all the way from small numbers of users, all the way up to some fairly sizable deployments, with more to come as well. And of course, you'll notice that the model numbers are intentionally similar to the XG series that you're already familiar with. So it should make the transition process very, very straightforward. Again, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Cool, right. So let's move on a little bit and have a look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant. You may well have seen that the Endpoint Protection Magic Quadrant is now out and available. And the fantastic news, first of all, is that we are once again in the Leaders Quadrant from Gartner for the Endpoint Protection solution. So we're very, very pleased. It's the 12th time in a row. I think we're one of maybe 2 vendors that have maintained that position for such a long period of time. So that's really, really great news. However, some of you may be a little bit perturbed, let's say, by our position within that leadership quadrant. So I just wanted to really remind you that one of the core reasons that customers buy any kind of endpoint protection is precisely for that reason, to make sure that they are protected. And this is really where our products excel. So take a look at this report from SE Labs, and you'll see that we offered 100% protection and 100% accuracy in their report. And this is, like I said, the primary driver as to why customers purchase and consume our products. So whilst Gartner and Forrester also look at things like the EDR capabilities and the searching and all that kind of stuff, when you're looking at straight protection, then this is really where we win out. And bearing in mind that I found out the other day that our labs now see about 600,000 new malware samples every single day. Even missing by a couple of percentage points is potentially an enormous number when you start to drill down and do the maths on that yourself. So, for example, here, CrowdStrike may be a leading competitor, but at 95% accuracy, that's an enormous number of samples that have been missed. Okay, so moving on to partner updates, a couple of things I wanted to call out. First of all, if you're quick, depending on when you're watching this, we are running a Q&A session around EDR. So this will be a product demonstration, which is available to both yourselves as partners and to your customers and prospects, followed by a Q&A session. And this, of course, will be available for viewing after the event as well. So if you've got anybody who really wants to know a bit more about the EDR solution and would like it demonstrated to them, this is a great opportunity to do that and have a look at our product lineup. Okay, so looking further ahead, one of the other things I wanted to call out was the Break a Hacker's Heart series. This is a virtual event series that will last for 4 days from June the 21st through to June the 24th. And we have a fantastic lineup of speakers and some really, really good content available for you as partners and also for your customers and your prospects as well. So some really, really good speakers, some really good events lined up here. Starting out with this handsome chap, Choose Your Own Hackventure. Now, I can't encourage you guys enough to come to this event. It is a really, really interesting webinar. It's a webinar like no other because you as audience members will be able to influence and steer how we proceed through this session. So what we're going to do is show you what a would-be cyber criminal will do, starting out with picking a victim, selecting an organization to attack, and then selecting an individual within that organization. We're going to do some reconnaissance. We're going to find out about our individuals, and then we're going to select somebody, and we're going to use the knowledge that we've gathered to start hacking them and ultimately proceed all the way through to action on objective. And it's a really, really interesting session because, like I said, it's live and you guys can steer it whichever way you want to. So it's a very, very interesting insight into the world of the hackers. And of course, we will show you just a little bit about how we can protect networks and how we can defend networks as well. But really, really fun, really, really interactive session. Following that, the next day we have Dr. Bright. Dr. Bright is a very much seasoned InfoSec researcher and penetration tester, and he'll be doing a lot of discussion through this session, looking at how adversaries attack, what they do, what the reconnaissance tactics look like, and replicating some of the ransomware tactics as well. So another little insight into the world of the cyber criminal, and also again discussing about how you can help protect against some of the techniques that he will be showcasing. Then we have Raphael upon the Wednesday, and again, Raphael's a fantastic speaker and presenter. I've had the opportunity to work with him before, and he has a lot of experience as an ethical hacker, and will show you some of the techniques that are used to evade traditional cybersecurity techniques and products, and also how, again, you can defend yourselves and recognize these kind of approaches. So I would highly encourage you to join that session. And then finally, we'll finish up up this session with our very own Paul Ducklin. Duck, I'm sure, is familiar to many of you, and Duck is going to take us through what happens if you pay the cyber criminals off. So he's been intentionally infecting some devices with ransomware and then paying the cyber criminals off and then finding out what happens next and how to deal with the fallout. So a really, really interesting session. Duck is absolutely guaranteed to provide a lot of insight as well as a lot of entertainment. So I would encourage you to watch that session, and I'm sure you'll take loads of really, really cool tips away from there and have a good time while you're watching it. Fantastic. Okay, so I will be putting these slides up on the Teams channel for you guys to download and to use at your leisure. And I will include the links in these documents as well. So the landing page, registration link, and partner portal links for all of that Break a Hacker's Heart series for you, so that you can very easily distribute those around. For those of you in marketing or who have access to the marketing department, there's a whole bunch of resources available to help you market and promote these events. So obviously use those or share them with your marketing team so they can help promote the event. And obviously whatever we get back in terms of leads from those, if we know they've come from you, then we can use the referral ID to pass that information back to you, and you can benefit from the opportunities that you generate. There we go. So that is pretty much it for this session. I would once again like to thank you very much indeed for watching, and I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to catching up with you again next month. Bye for now.